All right, good evening. Welcome to the Neary Building Committee for May 16th, 2024. It is 7:33 p.m. All voting members other than Chris are here and present tonight. He has a work conflict and will not be joining us. And then welcome to our ex officio members joining us this evening as well. First order of business are two sets of meeting minutes from May 7th and May 9th. Did everyone have a chance to review those?
Yeah.
Are there comments on either set? Is everyone okay if I move them as one?
I think I don't know if you can, because wasn't that one the Zoom, which I know I wasn't there.
So it's up to you. You're allowed to vote on minutes even if you weren't there, but if you don't
Okay.
want to, I'm happy to move them separately.
No, it was a public meeting. I'm fine with that. I just wanted to bring it to your attention.
Yep, no, thank you. All right, so I'm going to move the May 7th, 2024 and May 9th, 2024 meeting minutes as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote. Mark,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
Kathy,
Aye.
Denise,
Aye.
Roger,
Aye.
and I am aye as well. All right, let me bring the rest of the team over. I think we got everyone. Jim, are you and Katie going to need screen share privileges again?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. All right. We have a somewhat structured agenda here for this evening, just in the entrance of efficiency and trying to get through as much as we can in prioritizing what needs to get done versus there's going to be some foreshadowing of where we're going to go. The first is there was a lot of discussion at the last meeting about how many square feet we actually have to date. And I know there were different discussions in the meeting. There's different things on property record cards. So I asked the team here to go back and come back with what they believe the official comparison is that we're going to use for any future models. And I've asked them to spend a couple minutes just walking through what I believe will be our anchor point as we move forward to explain to the community incremental space beyond what we already have. So I don't know who exactly I'm handing it to, but that's the topic we're going to talk about to start.
I'll take it to begin with.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm going to share a diagram that we are going to keep handy for all future conversations. There we go. So this is the floor plan of the existing Neary building. You'll see the hatched areas. There are 3 different cross hatches, one that goes around the entire building, the built building, the original construction, one around the modular classrooms, and then a subset of the existing building is the district offices. So the reason we're breaking it out this way, there are different ways that we're going to be describing this space, depending on which topic we're talking about. If we're talking about the total area of the building, the total area is 62,756 square feet. That includes the modular classrooms. We're saying it this way because we are talking about when we're comparing for our educational planning and, you know, existing versus what a new build would be. We want to capture the full building, but we also want to make the distinction about what portion of that is the modular classrooms, what portion of it is the district offices that will regain, and basically wanted to course correct, the square footage that we had included before, inadvertently included the courtyard space. So that was why our number was looking slightly different from what people were expecting. So this is the final square footage. This is what we're going to use going forward. And again, just wanted to make the distinction between some of these subsets of spaces. Like for instance, if we were doing a reno version and we said the existing building, we would be listing 60,265 because the modular classrooms would just be removed. But the square footage of the exterior walls and that enclosure is 60,000. So
Katie, what is that on the top left, that almost rectangle?
that's this little area that's built up. I could show you in a photograph. There are some picnic tables on it right now. There's a little low wall. I'm not entirely sure what is underneath it at this point. I remember, I don't see Keith on, but I had asked him one time what was underneath it, but that's exterior space.
It's like a fenced in area, Kathy, on the back of the building.
It's what, Andrew?
Fenced in area on the back of the building.
Mhm. You also see a few little, there's a stairway that's not included. Obviously, I think this is some mechanical units. There's a loading dock. Those are all not included in this square footage. Any questions?
Questions? I'm seeing no hands at this point, so appreciate the clarification and the questions that came out of last meeting, and we'll keep going. So I'll have you pull it down for a second, Katie.
Okay.
And then we'll go to our next item is I was asked to specifically add to the agenda so that it can be included as part of the PDP, an official vote to remove 2 sites from consideration at this phase. They are documented in the PDP that we're going to discuss at further length tonight, but I was asked to have a specific vote on it, and obviously we'll have a discussion before it. But the 2 parcels of land that are within town control, i.e. under town ownership, were the Finn School and the land adjacent to the transfer station, were 2 parcels that were identified as owned by the town with the potential as an alternative site for the Neary School. My understanding is that if we take a vote to remove each of these from consideration tonight, and I can re-highlight some of the reasons why in the PDP that they're listed as being removed from consideration. But my understanding is if obviously we run into an issue on the Neary site in the future, we'll be able to revisit this vote. But this is really to signify that we are looking to narrow in on the Neary site as the potential location for any expansion or new construction.
Who told you to take this vote, Jason?
I don't remember if it was Skanska or Arrow Street. But someone asked me to put it on the agenda, so I put it on the agenda.
Well, if I could jump in, Jason, for a minute.
Go ahead, Larry.
So the MSBA process does ask to look at alternate sites. A couple were identified. If we wanted to include them as one of our optional sites, then we would need to include that moving forward. And I think the determination was from this group that those 2 sites are at the moment not part of your wanting to look at options. And so what we want to do in the PDP is say that those 2 sites are not part of the work going forward. And we understand that would be done through a vote of this committee.
Andrew, I saw your hand up.
Jason, there was one other site, like the Deerfoot Road, that I don't think we want to look at either, but should we include, just for completeness, those 3? So the Mooney, the transfer station, and that Deerfoot Road parcel that were listed?
My understanding is that's not actually in town control, but can someone clarify that?
It's a town-owned parcel. It's a 1 acre parcel. It's on page 89 of the PDP. It says evaluation of Southborough sites.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
so
go ahead, Jim.
yeah, so I can clarify that. So obviously it being a 1 acre parcel, when we originally talked about that, just adjacent to that is the 21 acre parcel.
And we reviewed with Arrow Street, and that was not town-owned. That is actually under a trust. Let me pull up the
Jim, I'll just basically, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 options there. So I think we just cross off 3, 4, and 5. I just want to
yes, exactly. Yeah.
I didn't want to only cross off 3 and 4 and leave 5 there in the PDP.
Yep.
Okay.
And I guess, should it even be in the PDP? Is my question, as a 1 acre site?
No, I
Right,
just didn't want to. We weren't voting. You only had to vote on the 2 other ones. I just didn't want to leave it in there.
Yep.
Yeah. So, Jim, is your intention to only have Finn in transfer station, the land adjacent to the transfer station, listed as alternative sites in the PDP after tonight?
Correct. Yeah. Based on that information we got today, yeah, we're just going to remove that because that's not a feasible site because it's not under town control. So the 2 that we're voting on are true alternate sites under town control. So we'll leave those in there, and being that we're leaving them in there, that's the need for the vote today. Or tonight.
Okay.
What's happened today, Jim?
So we got a little bit more information just on the trust. We were looking at the 21 Deerfoot, which is the 1 acre site, which was originally brought to our attention. Adjacent to that is the 21 acre site. So just a little bit of digging with the town information. So once we understood that adjacent site was not under town control, that was the information that came to light today.
And before I go to Denise, to be clear, if there's an issue with the Neary site that prevents us from building whatever we decide that we want to build, we will have the opportunity to bring forward non-town owned parcels for consideration if we got to that point.
If it was part of, if it's within the PDP, yes. If the parcels included in the PDP are not feasible, then it's possible we could have that discussion with MSBA to reopen that.
But to be clear, we are listing 2 town-owned parcels in the plan that we're gonna potentially take a vote on here. And then if we remove the 1 acre Deerfoot site, we'd have 0 non-town owned parcels listed here. So I just want to make sure is if we run into an issue down the road that's unforeseen at this point, we have the ability to revisit any site, whether it be in or out of town control.
It would have to be a discussion with the MSBA, and it would have to be a significant reason for not being able to build on the sites that we're proposing.
When are we going to have the determination whether it's a go on the Neary fields?
So we did do preliminary, and Larry, Katie can chime in. We did preliminary investigation of the site. So as we go through the PSR phase, and as we get into the schematic design phase, we'll continue to get more information. We did meet with Concom today to start to walk through the limitations of the floodplain and buffer zones, and getting that information. So, I can't pinpoint an exact time frame, but as we go through the process, we'll continue to get more information.
So we will have submitted our decision in August before we have all the work completed to know whether the site is viable.
So all the go ahead, Larry.
I wouldn't say it that way. I would say by the time we're ready to submit in August, we will have done enough due diligence that we're confident that the Neary site will work. Assuming that's a choice that you make. So once you submit the PSR, you're committing to that site and that particular enrollment, whatever that may be.
Denise, you've been patiently waiting.
Oh, that's okay. I'm trying to figure out where you mean on Deerfoot, because the town owns an acre next to me, but it's not contiguous to the 21 acres I think you're speaking about. Am I correct? It's not contiguous.
So the understanding was because the size of school that we're proposing for a 1 acre site does not make sense.
Correct.
So when we saw the adjacent parcel of 21 acres, we assumed that maybe there was some confusion that that was the parcel that we were talking about. So we researched both sites. So the 1 acre site is not feasible because of the size. The 21 acre is not feasible because it's not town owned.
Right, but they are not contiguous, correct? You couldn't use the two of them together.
No.
Right, okay, that's what I want,
Yep.
I guess.
Sorry. Yep.
Okay, that was my question.
Okay, so does anyone have any questions on eliminating or comments on eliminating the transfer station site? So that it's basically accessible via Middle Road. Okay, does anyone have any questions on the land adjacent to the Finn School? Okay, so we're ready to take a motion or take a vote on eliminating those from consideration at this point.
I'll move to remove those two for consideration until such
second?
time as it may be needed to reconsider them at a later date.
All right, is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Seconded by Mark. Is there any discussion? Okay, do a roll call on that. Denise,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Kathy,
I,
Roger,
Aye.
and I am I as well. So that is unanimous. Now, if there's any further discussion on Deerfoot, that can be appropriately discussed under the PDP item we're just about to discuss. So we're going to move into the actual PDP. I realize it's an incredibly long document. I've spent some time as have members of the working group with Skanska and Arrow Street, making sure we all understand what we are voting and what it's binding us to and what it is not binding us to when we take this vote. We have the option to take the vote tonight, depending on where the discussion goes, or we have the option to take it on Monday night if there are changes that need to be cleared based on the discussion tonight that are substantive enough that would require a reread of the document. I want to be clear because I've asked this question too many to count now to the collective consultant team. This is binding us to nothing. Okay, this is not saying what path we're going down. All it's doing is laying the groundwork for the options that we will or will not consider moving forward. And Jim or someone on the team will then walk through how we're going to get from this plan down to the ultimate decision come late summer. So he will walk through kind of where we would go after a vote here tonight or on Monday. But I just want to remind everyone that there are certainly a ton of questions we all have coming out of last week, whether it be on square footage, whether it be on cost, whether it be on the affordability. We will certainly have the time to have those conversations because they are clearly needed to bring forward a project that is at all, have any chance of success in moving forward. And I will touch on the square footage in some of the requests that are going to be forthcoming to our next meeting after we get through the PDP tonight. So again, I just want to reiterate, we're not signing off that this is the right size school. We're not signing off that this is the appropriate number that we are willing to even sign up for. And we're not even signing off on each of the individual spaces. What we are signing off on, though, and I think this is important, is recognizing the efforts of, in particular, our school administration team, as well as obviously Mike Perillo and his team, but also the broader team here, of what they've done around educational visioning in the vision that the district has, right? Because the educational needs are a major driving factor of this project, and right, will be referenced countless times probably as we decide on the project that we ultimately bring forward. So that we are, stamping that, right? In Greg, I believe, mentioned, or Roger mentioned, that the school committee was going to vote on it. They mentioned it last week, but the school committee has also taken a vote on the educational plan as well. Not necessarily the full PDP that we're going to walk through tonight, but obviously that part is, within their purview, in terms of the policies that they work through with the school administration on a regular basis. So before I hand it to Jim to kind of walk through where this then takes us, and then we'll go through each section and get commentary, I just want to make sure, does anyone have any questions on kind of my opening or what we're doing or not doing here tonight? Go ahead, Mark.
On the ed plan, is it worth it to just get a quick synopsis from the school committee as to any questions, any direction, any changes? Or are we just to assume what we have in front of this is what they approved? And I'd love to know what the vote was if it was unanimous. Otherwise, what we have in front of us might be slightly different than what they approved. I just want to make sure that.
So I will, keep me honest, I will come back. That's a very good question. And Greg and Roger, get ready to answer it in about like 5 minutes. Because when we get to that section of the PDP, just to keep us structured, that will be where we lead off to when we get to on that section. I'll go to Greg or Roger first. I don't know what was discussed or not discussed. My understanding was there was nothing material coming out of the discussion, but I think you can all highlight that in the vote coming up. Any other procedural questions? All right, so Jim, if there's anything you and Arrow Street wanted to highlight before we go section by section, now is your time.
Sure. Yeah, I just have just a couple of notes before we jump in. And I echo Jason's sentiments. It's always a big pull to get this to this point, any project to this point. Greg and his team, Arrow Street and their team, the committee, all the work that we've done to date. It's never, a small effort. It's always a big pull to get to this point. So we definitely need to recognize that. So thanks to everybody for their efforts. So just a couple of notes to how we got here, and as Jason noted, where we're going. This is from a lot of this is from the PDP, but this particular piece I think is important for us as the charge of this committee of this project. So the MSBA is committed to working with districts to determine the most cost-effective and educationally appropriate solution to meet their specific needs. So I thought that was just important to just focus us on. That's the purpose of how MSBA sets this process up, is that at the end of the day, it's a cost-effective and educationally appropriate solution. And as Jason noted, by approving this submission, we're setting up the framework for options to be further studied in the preferred schematic report phase, which is the next phase that we'll be going into. So how we got here, if you remember back December, we started our visioning process. So the visioning defined the school's needs and adjacencies. From that allowed the district to draft the educational program. From that educational program, the initial space summary was based on this information, and the preliminary design layouts were created. So that's how we led up to where we are today. So Next, just when we submit this to the MSBA, first of all, they'll have, once we submit next Tuesday, they'll have 21 days to review, and they'll come back with comments, and then we have 14 days to respond. So in that review, they're going to review, obviously for completeness, that all pieces and parts are included within the PDP. They'll review the PDP to determine if the MSBA agrees with the initial space summary, preliminary evaluation of alternatives, and if it accepts the district's recommendations of proposed preliminary alternatives as originally defined in the statement of interest to be further studied as part of the final evaluation of alternatives in the next phase. So again,
What does that mean? What does that sentence mean?
so which piece, Kathy? That
It accepts the district's recommendation. The district recommends all through here the new 4th-grade school. So well, I don't know
So-
what if it accepts the district's recommendation.
So of the preliminary alternatives, so that's basically the 12 options that we're putting forward, that they accept those as the alternatives that are going to be studied in the next phase. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, and I know there's been a lot of discussion regarding those options. So, and this is straight out of the PDP to ensure that feasibility determines the most cost-effective and educationally appropriate solution that can be supported by the community and the MSBA Board of Directors. It's imperative that the preliminary evaluation of alternatives, our options that we're putting forward, is sufficiently comprehensive in scope to initially consider all possible solutions. So just what we've been saying all along, we have to put forth all of the options as defined in the SOI and as we've been discussing. So again, once this is approved, we're going to go into the preferred schematic report phase. So the preferred schematic report, the MBC will determine a preferred option that is most fiscally responsible and educationally appropriate long-term solution. So again, just a preview into the next phase, which is from now through August. So just want to set up that framework, what we're submitting, why we're submitting it, what the MSBA is going to be looking at. So I'll open it to questions. Otherwise, we'll jump in and as we go through the PDP, we're just going to go section by section.
Questions?
Well, I've lost my raise hand button. So Jim, under the May, August 24th work we're going to be doing, develop preliminary budget. What else are we going to find out as far as cost goes besides what we've already gotten from the estimator?
So the big piece of that is the development of the designs. As Arrow Street has more time to further those options, look at spaces, have more discussions with the different departments and Greg and his group and principals, they'll continue that design along. So as that design gets more refined, we'll be able to get more detail in our estimates. And obviously some, as I spoke about before, the Concom, getting more information from them, just further information will further the estimates.
Okay.
Any questions on that before we go section by section? All right. So Jim, why don't you bring up however you want to do this section by section? As a reminder, for purposes of tonight, we should be talking about substance. If you had Scribner's error type comments, there are a few comments that came in, and those have been passed along and are either fixed or in the process of being fixed. We can talk about if there's anything else that people noted Scribner wise, what the deadline is for that. But let's try to focus, just in the interest of efficiency of the discussion here, on substance, right? Clarifying what a sentence means is a great example, right? What Kathy just did on the slide. Clarifying anything that you see in the report. is kind of where I'd like to try to take the discussion, given the number of people that are here. So with that, Jim, I'll let you walk through table of contents and I'll try to monitor for hands in each section.
Sure.
Want me to share?
Alright. Yeah, if you can share. I think Katie's going to drive through the PDP and I'll just run through each section. All right, so section 1, the introduction. All of the items listed here included.
Comments on 3.1.1.
Jason, on slide, the budget, let's see the budget statement,
Yeah,
right? That's
page 5.
the debt piece, I think, page 5, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was very good, but I think it's hard for the average. I had trouble understanding it in terms of what it actually meant when it said excluded debt outside of the limit. What was that?
Talking about the other one, Andrew, not this one.
Now this one here, right? Because you go on like the next, like, debt, remaining debt was here, and then if you go to the next page, it talks about excluded debt, but none of the numbers from this page add up to the 5.7. Right. So it's just I don't know how it. A lot of
Well, I
people
think
understand, that the borrowing limit that we're getting close to with this could get close to with this project doesn't include schools. So I don't know if we want to have like a more explanation on the numbers, but I don't know.
so. This is prepared by Brian Ballantyne. And it's based off of a format that basically the MSBA is used to. So I agree that the
Yeah,
average
MSBA might get this, but I don't think the average person that might see this will. But
right. But I also look at the opening title and it's addressed to the MSBA.
yeah.
We all as committee members, right? Like whenever we decide what the total cost is that we're going to bring forward to town meeting, coming back to this 121,795 is there's probably gonna be a lot of discussion about that.
Yeah. And I'm not sure it needs to get necessarily in here, but to your point, I just wanted for clarification. That was one thing I read, and it took me, I had to read it a couple times to kind of understand what was going on in it.
Me too.
Yeah, I think
And this is the MSBA format. We use some samples from other projects that the MSBA has accepted, and this is how
We'll have
they.
to just, when we get Jim to the point where we're putting together presentations for people, we'll just have to have Brian put it in simpler terms.
Jim, the point Andrew's making, I'll make it more bluntly. If the chair of the current advisory committee and the former chair of the advisory committee, me, can't understand this, then I'm not sure who else is going to, but I'm okay. I mean, I sat down with Brian, I get it. But boy, and not only
Yep.
that, apparently the school building debt is excluded from this limit. I don't know why, but apparently it is. So I'm not even sure what the purpose of this is. But if it has to be there, so be it.
I mean, I might be over assuming here, but I think they're trying to see what other debt we have on our books.
I
right?
agree.
So that they-
I
right?
agree. I agree. That's
In-
exactly what they're doing.
In,
So
my initial 2 cents, I focus on the 121, but obviously, we're very fortunate in this town, right? With the level of debt we actually have, right? I don't know that many other towns would have this clean of a balance sheet from a debt perspective, but I don't want to go down that path tonight. But Claire, I see your hands up on this.
Yeah, I was just going to suggest if it's helpful, and I wouldn't suggest us writing it, but somebody could write a quick summary paragraph or two that we slide in ahead of this letter to give the lay reader a chance of what they're looking at. And
I don't think it's necessary. I just think later on you're gonna, because when we talk about excluded debt, it means something different to some of us. So I don't think we need to focus anymore on this. It's just, it is confusing. That's the point we're trying to make, but I'm not sure anybody's gonna see this as far as the submission goes. I think SBA is gonna drop right down to that 121 and keep going.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions on, to go back table of contents, Katie? Sorry, I'm sure we're going to be all over the place here on you a little bit, but any other questions on this? Okay. 3.1.2, I promised Mark we'd come back to his question.
And yeah, and just quickly, just to kind of introduce this, obviously the education program is issued and reviewed by the school committee. The MSBA likely will come back with some questions, comments on the educational program, which we will be required to respond to. And then when we submit the PSR, that's when we have to have those incorporated. So we'll respond to those as they come in. But just to, you know, Greg and his team, they'll likely come back with some comments, questions. So, but yeah, I'll open it up, Jason.
So just to be clear, that the author of 3.1.2 was the district in collaboration with Mike Perillo. Is that correct?
It was the district with guidance and help from Mike Perillo.
Okay. So
Yep.
Greg or Roger, who wants to summarize the discussion at school committee?
Greg, can I make I guess at least one comment and then maybe turn it over to you?
Sure.
So when we reviewed this at the meeting, what's today? What is today?
The
Uh,
16th.
Today's
yeah,
Thursday.
yes, yesterday. All these days run into each other. We did have, I would say, some language changes. I would say that more than just Scribner's, but not anything really significant from what was in the document. Now, what I don't know, and Greg, I'll turn it over. I guess I'll ask you to comment. Is the document that the language changes that we made yesterday, and then what we voted on, is that now in front of folks, or is that not quite in the large document yet?
So I believe the changes that the school committee suggested are in front of you this evening. And Katie, correct me if I'm wrong.
What I'm presenting on the screen today is what was dropped into the box last week. I didn't want to confuse with, wait, that's not the version I saw when I downloaded it, any of those
Okay.
sort of questions. Maybe we should have begun with that comment that this was a draft and we have been continuing to edit. We've been adding images. We've been, there were some summaries that we've added, some reports that we've received. And the updates that Greg, that you provided, we have now made in our file, but they are not, the group here or anyone who has downloaded it does not have those, because that's one of the edits we've been making since the draft was submitted.
Well, I'm trying to speak a bit to Mark's question, and I can assure Mark, I can assure you and anyone else, the changes that we made before our vote yesterday were not at all significant. I think there were some language changes that were appropriate, but they're pretty minor. If you were to compare them to really kind of the substantive part of the document that was already there, I don't think you'd see much difference. Would you agree that's a fair comment, Greg?
Yeah, so we did have a few changes. I would say they were minor. For example, in one of the alternative 3, we had pre-K listed, but it's really K1. And then we did speak to a couple transportation benefits. We added a bullet around busing, but overall, it did not shift the overall ed plan significantly.
Stephanie, I saw your hand up and then you disappeared.
I have the version history open, so Greg just named most of them. There was like another example is where it said typical student schedule. We just changed the wording to I think it's Neary master schedule or something that's a little more accurate. And then the time on learning chart, we just, again, made slight change to be more accurate. So they were all like very sort of small edits.
Okay.
And I would just add that the committee, so 5-member committee, 4 members were in attendance, and 4 of the members in attendance voted yes to the document.
And to be clear, this was after the election, not before the election.
Correct.
Okay. Mark, does that answer your original question? I realize you may have more. Does that answer your original
No,
question?
that's what I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear those assurances because I made the assumption what I read might differ from what happened last night. So I'm fine.
I'll come back to you in a second for anything else you have in that section. I'll go to Andrew now for that.
Jason, can you go to page 28 for just 1 second? Or
I can't,
whoever-
but Katie
whoever
can,
has
hopefully.
the control.
Sorry, where did you want me to go?
28, please.
Mm,
And I think Greg alluded to it. So
You're actually page number 28.
actual page 21, page 28 of the
Oh,
document.
thank you.
I'm making it easier.
Thank
So
you.
alternative 3, I mean, I know Greg said the pre-K thing, which makes sense. That's K-1 now, but should that be Woodward and not Finn? I thought later in the document it had that as Woodward, because in this case we'd be closing Woodward, right? In alternative 3.
That's what it looks like, but maybe we're gonna rename Woodward Finn.
So yeah. So just an alternative 3. In theory, I think it should be grades K-1, Woodward Memorial Elementary School, right?
I agree,
think
because
that-
we're going
that's
to a
accurate.
4-grade configuration. And I'm pretty sure that's one of the school committee.
And I
Yeah.
think it's right further down in the details. I think it's just on this page. It wasn't referenced correctly.
Yeah.
I brought it up yesterday, but I guess no one believed me.
Well, they didn't put them in here yet.
What's that?
They
This is
did
the
not
old document,
take-
Kathy.
This is the document that was circulated on Friday.
Okay.
Right, that's all I had.
I heard that correct, right, Katie?
Yes, that's correct. I have not, I didn't want there to be confusion of seeing something on the screen that didn't match what somebody had downloaded. So we've been making edits on the side, but we have not, we haven't changed anything in the download link.
Okay. All right. Andrew's hands down. So to Mark, then Denise. So you're waving me off, Mark? All right. Denise.
On that very same page, this may just sound picky, but when I look at the district's recommendations and the reasons we want to go forward with this, I would love to see that just flip-flopped around, that the last one would catch the reader's eye, that our whole goal here, yes, busing is an issue, saving money on buses, but the educational piece of it, I think, is really the most important, the collaboration, the school community, the resources. I would love to just see those flipped around as opposed to first seeing the grade range, transportation, that's just my opinion. And maybe it's not a good opinion, but when I first read it, I went, I really more would like to focus in on, the district's educational plan versus, yeah, we have a busing issue that we have to deal with, but that's just my personal opinion.
Greg, any comments on that?
I think it's a good suggestion, easy change.
Okay. Any objections to that? Anyone else? All right. Good suggestion, Denise. Thank you. Anything else, Denise? Nope.
No, thank you.
All right. Anything else in the educational plan? All right. Jim, back to you.
Yep. So the next section is the initial space summary. And as I noted in the beginning, so that was based off the adjacencies and needs. And then this is a MSBA spreadsheet, rather massive spreadsheet. So what MSBA will do is look at this and review the spaces as they compare against their requirements.
Any questions on this section?
I mean, I have questions on them, Jason, but at this, I mean, I'll save it for when we start working on the PCS.
And that's appropriate, right, Jim, right? In terms of, like, we'll be able to change adjacencies if it doesn't make sense, or can lead to a more efficient design, all of that, correct?
Yes, yeah, definitely.
All right.
And Jim, and I believe you said this earlier, but the ability to possibly keep part of Neary open and use it for something is still an option, right? It's still part of the Reno kind of concept or whatever, but we still have that as an opportunity, even though it's not specifically listed here.
So so that would have to be a conversation with the MSBA, keeping that open. I don't believe we, keeping that open and then having a new school adjacent to it would have to be a discussion with the MSBA.
But aren't they all discussions with the MSBA? But it's a scenario, right? That would be an ad reno.
So the ad reno and then leaving that in place would be, it would be difficult. And I don't think we are really putting forth that as one of the options that we're pursuing.
Who gets to decide what options we're pursuing? Doesn't this committee?
So that's what's defined in here, what was originally defined in the PDP. I agree that it's somewhat in the framework of what we're putting forth. But again, it would have to be a separate discussion with the MSBA.
But Andrew, if your vision is to keep half of it, right? Where the superintendent's office is, tear down the other half and not necessarily connect them, use that remaining half for something else town related, right?
Or school related, or keep it connected, right? But I think, you know, what we've kind of seen from the reno of Neary is keeping the entirety of Neary and adding on to the sides, right? Not keeping, you know, kind of keeping the portion and then building all new next to it, right?
So that would be defining the scope that we would not be demoing that, which MSBA would have to weigh in on.
But should we include it in this document? It's an option
I-
we want to look at.
Could I jump in on this one for a minute?
Go ahead, Larry.
So Andrew, I think if the portion of Neary that remains is used as a school, it would be a variation of option C1, C2, sorry, B1, B2, and B3. In other words, it's an ad reno scheme.
Yeah.
And in the next 3 months, we can push and pull the ad reno schemes to our heart's delight if you feel the studies we've done to date aren't getting us to where we want to be. If you were to say, well, we're going to reuse that portion of Neary that we retain for some other purpose entirely, that's something that's more similar to saying it's a new build renovation, a new build with a site plan that includes an adjacent building used for something else.
Yeah, and that's where I think we go back to MSBA. I mean, I think right now you kind of keep it as a school thing, and
right.
But if at the end of the
both
day,
of those,
right, you know, okay, hey, instead of paying, you know, this much money estimated to do a full demo, we're going to do a partial demo or something and keep the rest. That's a discussion with MSBA. That makes sense, but
Yeah, and that delineation would be, MSBA would likely come back that we could not spend any project dollars if that was to be a non-school part of
Right.
the educational program. So that would
that
be
makes
the,
sense. Yeah.
but I think in both cases, they're really design variations of options we're already discussing.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Okay. Thank you.
Other questions on 3.1.3? All right, what's next, Jim?
Right. The existing conditions. So this is the various sub-consultants of Aero Streets and their reports.
Questions on this?
I had one, if you could go to page 124.
That the right one?
Oh, no, yeah,
The actual page 124.
actual page 124.
I'm gonna have to guess.
Or no, so it's on the actual document, it's, sorry, 210 is the page number.
210. Okay.
Like at the bottom, like the,
Yeah, sorry, I don't know why.
all right, it's good.
I'm sorry, my slide isn't advanced. Oh, sorry, that's in draft part 2. That would be why.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So yeah, draft part 2, I have it as page 2. I don't know what that's hard to, there we go, right
Is that
there.
right? Okay.
Yes, I think the construction costs here numbers didn't foot with what I had seen from the PMNC.
Yes, we haven't updated some of these numbers that we were looking at as far as the square footages. We have a final estimate from PMNC that is all aligned. So
Okay.
this will be updated according to the final estimate that we received from them yesterday. So
Okay.
this will all be updated. It will all match exactly in anywhere that it's referenced.
When is that update going to take place, Katie?
We have it right now. We're updating, we received several documents that we have to update, so we're rolling that in, this week. If you would like to see it ahead of that, I'm sure we could accommodate that. We could put it in the box location, maybe independently.
That would be helpful. This is going to be in select board meeting packet for next week. So the sooner I can get this updated, that'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah, and we reviewed it, and it's still within the ranges that we discussed at the previous meeting.
Yeah, I think Jim, it was just like if you took like this construction cost and divided, did the dollars per square foot, like the square foots don't match. It was just, it
Yeah.
wasn't right.
Yeah, that was just a further refinement of that
Yeah, no
estimate.
problem.
So, yep.
I'll put that in the box this evening.
And Mark, sorry to cut in because you're patiently waiting. Just to be clear, Kathy, on your comment, what's going in the select board packet? This full document or just this chart?
This chart. All I'm going to do is update everyone, hoping we'll get a good audience listening to this as far as what we believe the 12 options, the first estimate is going to cost.
I don't know if I agree with that. I think it's going to cause.
This is a public meeting too, Jason.
I understand. I mean, it's out there. I get it, but I just think it could deviate some of this, but that's fine if that's the will of where you guys want to go.
I am just really concerned about this cost. And if we don't start trying to get, how many people did you have at the Zoom meeting? This is truly not getting through as far as this cost goes. So we've got to do something to try to get people to understand where this is going and understand they've got to weigh in now and not wait till next town meeting, which apparently is the consensus right now.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I just think I'd like to see it. And again, I realize these are all public documents and people will see the iteration of our work. I just think I'd like to see this committee do a little more work trying to scrub and work with Arrow Street before we start doing some massive broadcasts. Again, people can look at it, but I just want to make sure we're controlling the message to the extent we can. But that's just one person's opinion. Mark, why don't you go?
Sure, just it's more of a granular question on the traffic study. I'm under the assumption that this sets our baseline, am I correct? And then we match later to what the school capacity is, and we do our study off of this base.
That's right.
This is, and I apologize, I'm going to get deep in the weeds. In the morning figures coming off of Parkerville Road and leaving, and in the afternoon figures of coming in and going out. And I'm particularly tapping not not the bus and not the staff, but the parents that drop their kids off. Is there, and the administration might pipe in, is there any percentage of that traffic that goes the other direction out? Meaning that they go over to Trotter and go out to Flag Road. And there's a reason I ask that, because traffic is going to be an issue, because we're looking at loading all the traffic onto Parkerville. If in our initial model, we find that 10% of those people make the trip around and go out of the site on Flag Road, that's going to help the base a little bit and allow us to push that number again later. Greg may jump in saying, no, we don't permit the parents to make that loop. And okay, but it's something I think the traffic guy might have missed.
Yeah, so currently the traffic doesn't route through the through Trotter to Flag Road. It does. It is routed to Parkerville, but I think again, probably more conversations around traffic flow and configuration.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure the consultant didn't miss that possibility, but if it really doesn't happen now, then that's fine.
Denise? Denise?
I happen to agree with Jason. I'm really concerned, Kathy, that these numbers, where we haven't culled them down to the possibilities of what we really would like to zero in on, may be a shock value that we can't come back from. I think it's a little early, is what I'm saying, to get these numbers out. It's just my opinion. I think we have a lot of work to do, and I think that they're just not refined enough. And I think I'm afraid it's gonna have a lot of confusion. We have listened to this, and you understand it, and we are trying to all understand it as well. But I don't think until we have our handle around what we're gonna do, I really hate to just throw these out. And, I'm just afraid.
So Denise,
That's
when you
just-
say when we have our handle of what we're going to do, you're talking about having made a decision as to what we're going to do. And
No,
that-
no, what I meant was culling it down to more than all of these options that we were made to look at. I mean, there's, what do we have, 12 here? We're gonna be culling that down, I'm sure, before we start to really zero in on one. And I think the 12 is just putting way too much. People can listen to our meetings and see what we're going through, but I hate to just put this out at a Board of Selectmen's meeting and have people go, oh my God, well, look what they're gonna do, A1 and look at C3. As it is, we're trying to understand what all of this is, and I'm just not sure we're ready to, just my opinion, to put that out there yet.
Roger?
I'm switching back to Mark's comment regarding the traffic and just a comment about the drop-off situation now. I think it was yesterday, Greg, that we talked a bit about the drop-off traffic as it was related, but maybe I'm thinking of the wrong meeting, as it was related to, and this would only be for a 4-grade scenario, and I think that's what you must be speaking to, Mark, because with the 2-grade, it would be the same. The number of parents that might have multiple children, right, within the 4 grades, there would be some. And it might be more than just a tiny bit. So that would mitigate to some degree the drop-off situation, which means it wouldn't be, you couldn't add the the drop-offs from one school and add them to the other school, because you may have a single drop-off where there were 2 drop-offs before. And I don't have any data to tell you what that would really mean from a percentage standpoint. The district may have at some point.
It's a good point.
Is that something we should be covering in this document, or is that part of?
I think that would be part of the future studies. Once we've narrowed in on a scenario, our traffic consultant will be weighing in. And any information that we can get from the district about any of those families and just a sort of order of magnitude of how many families that might be, we can give that information to the traffic consultant and have them factor that in.
Well, it of course changes by year too, right? So depending on amount of time between kids, right? All right. Are there other questions on this section?
Just one note on this section, for obvious reasons, the existing security report was not included in this. So it's not part of the public record. However, that is a section that will be submitted.
So when we get the final document, we'll have a document that doesn't have that section in it, like for purpose of our public posting, for example. Right?
Correct. Yes, correct.
And who has reviewed that, Greg?
Greg hasn't seen it. We have it in our possession. And the question was whether or not we wanted it to be part of that public document. We erred on the side of not putting it out there. We can send it
on
to
that.
we can send it to Greg and his team solely. Or we could include it in the report, but correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, but I believe that the PDP being submitted is therefore a public document. So we would prefer, right now, we currently have a statement that says a security report was done and it will only be provided to select, appropriate people. So that was how we were planning on addressing that.
I think we should err on the side of caution there.
Okay.
Yep.
So, but Greg needs to see it.
I will send it to Greg as soon as we finish this meeting.
Go ahead, Andrew.
And I think I'm fine with Greg seeing it. Well, Greg has to see it, but is it worth doing an executive session on it or not? But just kind of throwing it out there.
I will leave that to the superintendent once he sees it, because I have no idea what it says or doesn't say. But yes, I agree that would be a permitted executive session, but I don't know if it's appropriate for this.
Not that I have anything to probably add to it, but I just
or the school committee, to be completely honest with you.
I don't think there's probably any surprises, anything that Greg and his team don't already know about. I think what might be a little bit more important as we progress and start designing security, those might be things that a smaller group of people might want to weigh in on, but also not make public information for the same reasons.
And I believe you mentioned we were going to do a subcommittee for that at some point.
Correct. Yep.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I would highly recommend that Greg look at it, and if what we submit to MSBA becomes public, we need to be very careful on the baseline. There may be issues in there we don't want out there in the public.
And MSBA is sensitive to that as well. So
Yeah,
yeah,
so
I think everybody's on the same page.
I am fine with the administration making that choice. And if there's something that needs to come back, I think Andrew's suggestion is appropriate too, that we have an executive session and we go ahead and approve. If somebody's uncomfortable doing that, we go ahead and approve what's submitted as that part of the package.
And I think I heard Katie say they're just referencing that one was done and then they will provide it upon request to selected individuals.
That's
Perfect.
correct.
Okay. I have one comment on just this overall section. I don't know if it's here or anywhere else, but somewhere in this document, we need to say under A2, the base repair to Woodward, that under their MSBA chart that we all have our grievances with, so to say, of certain scenarios, it talks about a 450 enrollment. We need to somewhere in this document say that the current building code right, based on the existing building, does not allow for 450 students in that building. Because that's a key part of why we're even going down some of these paths, right? Is we told town meeting based on our existing enrollment, we can't fit 3 grades in that school based on existing enrollment without any contingency going forward. So I don't know where to put it. I would just ask that you consider making that comment to the MSBA somewhere in this document. I don't care where it goes.
There's at the end of each section, there's an advantages and disadvantages. I could easily put it in disadvantages, just saying this isn't viable. I can cite the numbers that you provided, just flipping back through my notes. I know I have them in here. As far as the occupancy and then the staff numbers and the fact that adding that together exceeds the occupancy.
That's fine with me. Go ahead, Denise.
You know what, Jason, that actually just goes to the point that we were talking about not this large number and this illustration with all of these being out there. It's going to cause a lot of confusion, especially you just brought up the point about Woodward. I mean, we cannot put that many bodies in that school, but it's right there. And I just don't think until we have a lot of this culled down, I don't think we should, to your point, you just made a great point was made as to confusion. But, you know, I just wanted to follow up on the fact that you just made a valid point with Woodward and the numbers.
Okay. Anything else in this particular section? Otherwise, Jim, take us back to the appendix.
Yep. All right, so
And not the
next
appendix.
is, table, so 3.1.5, site development requirements. So this is obviously everything that's on the site itself, easements. So comments, questions?
Seeing none.
All right. All right, and then 3.1.6, the preliminary evaluation of alternatives. So won't repeat what I said earlier, but this sets up all the options as we've been discussing.
Seeing no hands. 3.1.7.
Yep. All right. Yeah, local actions and approval. So this just lists out all of the meetings to date, both NBC subcommittee, and this document, once the vote happens at the last meeting that will be listed is the meeting that we vote with that language. So, yeah, any questions?
Seeing none. How about the appendices?
Yep, appendices. So basically just all supporting data from various sections within the PDP itself.
Andrew, I'll go to you first.
The only part was, I think it was page 172 of that document. I don't know what page it is overall. I think it's in the asbestos section. It has like all the Northborough schools and every Southborough school in it.
So
Can we take
that's
that out?
I'm sorry, that's the O'Hara report that we were given. We completed it in its entirety, because that's how it was given to us.
Yeah.
It would take a little, I'd have to look through it carefully to make sure that by removing some page, there's not a reference to, back to this school. We tend to just put reports in as long as there's not sensitive information or some reason that we shouldn't, we could provide the report fully in the way that we received it. So that's why it is the way that it is. If anyone
Makes
has
sense. Just-
issue.
Well, I see Greg's hand up. I was going to ask Greg what his thoughts were.
Yeah, so we can provide you with the Southborough O'Hara report. So
Okay.
it does not have the Northborough data in it.
we just need Neary, right? Or Neary and Woodward, I guess.
Yeah, so it sounds like Greg's team can provide Neary and Woodward.
Yeah, so Woodward doesn't have any asbestos, so it would just be Neary.
And then we'd also remove references to Algonquin throughout here too, right?
Yep.
Through that.
We just cut out like 50 pages. Look at all that work we just did.
That was the hub report, right, Andrew?
Yeah, hub.
Okay, yeah, that I had that same comment. I believe Chris Evers had that comment as well. So, okay. Other questions in this section? All right. Who's presenting? Katie. Katie, I'll have you take your screen down for a second. So I guess the question for the committee is, we can approve this tonight, or we can ask the Arrow Street to republish the final version and come back on Monday night. Before you answer that question, we have to come back, at least 4 of us have to come back on Monday night to approve the meeting minutes, because we have to actually send in a notarized signed copy of the meeting minutes where we approve this document. So, and it's the approved meeting minutes, not draft meeting minutes. I'm not sure if that changes how anyone wants to approach this, but I leave it open to all of you for how you want to do it. You're not off the hook for Monday night by approving it tonight. So if you want to take a clean read through it, we certainly have that option available to us.
I'm not here Monday night. I'm on a plane, so you're down 1 already. So you may want to make sure you got a good quorum. I don't know about Chris.
Chris said tonight was his only issue. Roger, go ahead.
I would, if you're taking a roll call, I would be here on Monday. So, if we were to approve this tonight, would the language be approve this with with changes that we've discussed, or what would the motion actually be if we were to approve this tonight? And the reason I'm asking is I'm presuming that would then go in the minutes, right? And then that would go to the MSBA, right? And I just trying to think about the hygiene of, yeah, we're going to approve this, you know, with some things that we haven't seen in this yet. You know, I don't know. I mean, we might be better off just to, if we can make sure we have 4 people in Monday's meeting, you know, then approve an actual, you know, document without changes. But I'm okay either way. I just put that out there for the committee.
I'm totally fine with that approach and agree it's the cleaner path forward. So you'll be there, Roger. I'll be there. Denise, I think you had a potential conflict, right?
Yeah, I'm presenting at the high school scholarship awards dinner or whatever it is Monday night. What about this? Is it possible would it make it easier to get a quorum to switch it to Monday night, Tuesday night?
It's due on Tuesday, right?
They have to submit it
Yeah.
on Tuesday, Denise.
Yeah.
Oh, it's due on Tuesday?
Who
Yeah.
would be here Monday, Andrew?
And then we have to get the minutes and
Yeah,
the
right,
certified
yeah,
vote,
yeah.
so.
We have a
Yeah.
quorum is there a quorum for Monday night without Kathy and I?
Andrew, you're good. Roger, you're good. Mark, you're good.
right.
There's 4, and Chris is not here, but should be here. The other option we have, given I've already posted for Monday night, is I can push it back to Tuesday morning, first thing, like 7:30, so to say. But we're not going to be able to make changes then, right? So if people have changes, they're going to have to get them to Arrow Street on Monday, right? If there's something that's glaring.
You've
So
got
that's what-
you've got a quorum plus 1.
Yeah.
I don't think that's fair to Skansa and Arrow Street to wait till Tuesday morning. Good gosh, this document is too big. And it's too late to make changes anyway. So I'd say stick with the Monday night if we don't do it tonight. I'm okay with tonight. These are not major changes that we've talked about.
I'm okay with tonight.
I mean, to be honest, I want to see what the final document's going to look like before I vote. I mean, there's entire sections that are missing. There are things that says we need to fill out this, add this language, add this language. I mean, I'd rather see the final at least a day ahead of time to make sure everything is good before I vote on it.
So Arrow Street, will you be able to publish the full document that you want to press submit on tomorrow?
By the end of business day, yes.
So then that gives everyone Friday night, Saturday, Sunday,
Yeah,
all
I mean,
day Monday.
as long as I can get it on before Sunday, so I get one day. But you guys probably don't want to work Saturday. But if you need the Saturday, I'm fine with you taking it.
I think,
Okay.
Jason, then we'd be looking to get back people's comments early Monday morning so we can pick up whatever people are concerned about and get it wrapped up, ready for everybody for Monday evening.
And you're gonna have to be ready to outline, just in fairness, right? You'll have to be ready to outline what changed, right? So if Andrew sends you two comments and you make changes during the day on Monday, you're gonna have to come prepared to the meeting to explain it.
Yes, and I think, it's sort of easy for us to change, as you say, the typos and the wordsmithing, but we do have to be careful if there's something more substantive that needs you guys to agree as a group. That we're not just taking directions from one or another or a third.
So we're sending comments directly to Errol Street?
That's up to you,
Wow.
Jason.
If it's, I'm trying to figure out the best way to do this. Kathy, I like to follow the rules, right? So
I did, Jason. I do know that.
I continue to stand by my instructions. If anyone has Scribners, I think I have a good cadence going with Arrow Street to get people comments, and that has worked well so far. So if you have Scribner's errors, just send them to me. I will collect them in batches and send them to Arrow Street / Skanska. You have substantive changes. I would ask, I think the easiest thing, because I'm hearing most people are pretty comfortable tonight. They just want to take a clean read. That's my general sense, right? So I'd be surprised. I'm not going to eliminate it, right? Never say never. But I think if you do have concerns about something in the document, I would reach out to Jim first.
Yeah.
And have a discussion with Jim. Jim's not a member of the committee. And then Jim can direct traffic, so to say, if it needs to get the Arrow Street team on the phone as well. But if you believe it's just something that's more of a town decision, right? Like, or what are the optics of putting this wording in there? Then you have to bring it to the committee on Monday night. We're gonna have to discuss it. And then that's what I would say, like Katie, Larry, if someone comes to you with like, I don't like how this is worded, I don't agree with it, like that's probably a decision that unfortunately I have to come back to the committee and we'll make a quick decision on. But if it's just something that's like, I don't understand what this means, like, yeah, I don't want to wait till Monday night to have that discussion.
Agreed.
Agreed to.
Anyone have any issues with that process?
But you
I-
still end up in the same place you are tonight, which is you don't want to approve this because we made changes to it. We want the minutes to reflect that we voted on a clean copy, but if you end up doing the same thing Monday night.
But if Monday night we amend whatever it is in the
It's going to be
meeting,
amended on the fly on the screen.
yeah,
So people are
like
going to
do
have
it
to
minutes, right?
Yeah.
Hey, just change this wording to that. Everybody agree with that? Yeah, we're good with that. Approved. But I don't imagine we're gonna have substantive changes. It's just I want to see the sections that are missing.
All right, makes sense. And again, the reason I'm not weighing in on some of the things that I would have changed if I was trying to really nitpick these things, because we've been assured very vociferously that there's nothing written in stone in this, that this is all something we have to do, and everything is still on the table as far as decisions to be made with those 12 options. We're not bound to the new school, et cetera. So that's what I'm relying on. That's why I'm not going to nitpick it. This document is a huge effort that Arrow Street's made, so I'm fine.
Okay. Just because I like insurance policies, I am going to post a meeting for Tuesday morning, first thing, in the event we fail to get a quorum for whatever reason on Monday night. just as a fail-safe. I hope to be able to cancel it. Just gonna take my same agenda from Monday night, move it to Tuesday. I'm also going to bring a set of minutes and have it sent to everyone in advance so we can approve them on the screen and just add in the votes, right? So if all 6 of us vote yes using what's here tonight, then we'll just add the names on the screen and that's what will get signed and notarized.
What time is the meeting on Tuesday morning you're gonna post?
That's what I'm just asking. I don't have any margin for error. I have to post. If I'm going to meet on Tuesday morning, I got to post tomorrow morning first
By that
thing.
time, by that time, so.
I know, right? So I'm probably going to do 9. Would be my guess. That gives Jim's team an hour tomorrow morning to post it. Again, I'm hoping it's a quick meeting. I do have the one posted for Monday night, but I can't like change it at 7:45 that night to the next morning. I just don't think that's in the spirit of the open meeting law.
You actually can't do that, Jason, so
Yeah.
you can change that time, so you will need to get it
Yeah.
posted, both of them.
Yeah. So, I'm gonna do 9 unless someone yell. I don't even know if it works in my schedule. I haven't even checked, but like we just need to get 4.
I'm fine with 9.
Yeah. Okay. For Monday night, I posted for 8 p.m. because I do know there are significant conflicts that for even those that have said they're going to be here, including myself. So it's at 8 p.m., not 7:30. Sorry, I know some people have bedtimes, but I need to get a quorum. If anyone would like to coach baseball on Monday night, you're welcome to take my spot, though. It's a great group of kids. That's
Very good.
exactly.
Mm-mm.
So, all right. Are we done with the PDP for tonight? Okay. Thanks for all the hard work and obviously the discussion tonight. Goes without saying to put 1,000 pages together. I realize no one person authored all 1,000 pages, but I think based on what I'm hearing on the comments, right, it held together, right? And I just appreciate everyone's efforts working through this. Okay. Item 6 on the agenda. I'm going to spend 2 minutes on this just to preview and bring comfort coming out of last week's discussion. So Arrow Street, the second they press submit on the PDP, is working through an analysis that they will bring back to our next committee meeting in early June to really walk through a comparison of now the existing Neary school compared to what a 2-grade configuration of the Neary school would be using the space that's outlined in the PDP so that we can all see in simple form, right? Not MSBA format or Excel spreadsheet, et cetera, but we can get there for those that are more Excel inclined, where the delta in the space is so that people can really start to react to, I want to hone in on this space. And it may be the educators that say, I didn't really realize that this part of the visioning would lead to this. And they may come back and rethink certain parts of it, right? It may be a community need, such as the auditorium, right? That we need to present separately, right? Depending upon how tied that is with the educational plan versus a community need. So we are going to get a document that we can all go down to each, right, to whatever layer you want to go down to understand the differences and provide feedback for then where we go. And then obviously once we align on that 2-grade configuration, it then, we can move to the 3 and the 4-grade configuration, which will then start to re-inform whether these cost numbers are the numbers that we're actually looking at trying to figure out how to pay for. So I assume everyone's yearning for that and would love to have that discussion tonight, but obviously I'm trying to focus on the PDP. Mark, I see your hand up.
Yeah. This is actually why I raised the issue earlier. And I just want to make sure I'm thinking correctly. If a decision is made June 30th, that we want to pair certain areas that we think are overbuilt for the educational plan as it's been presented, we can't make that decision independently. That has to go back to the school committee. Am I correct? Or is this a space plan to, if Greg says, I think that's gonna impact how we do things, isn't there a trigger that we're gonna just have to bring other people in to opine on that decision? I'm uncomfortable making a space decision at some point in the future if our school committee and our administration has an issue with it. I'm relying on that report that we're approving, that's the educational plan, and I respect all the professionals that put their time into it. We're matching up the space to it. Now, at some point, we may have to go back if we radically change that. Am I correct?
Yeah, I'll let Greg or Roger weigh in on that.
Yeah, so I think it is. So part of the next process is really looking at the ed plan and the space that results in the ed plan and the square footage. And there are some areas that we need to kind of revisit and have conversations in terms of overall size without impacting the overall goals of the ed plan.
Right. Okay. I'm fine.
Any other questions or comments on that path forward?
It'd be nice at some point to see a schedule for the whole summer, not just June. I know that's maybe a little bit hard to do, but given you've got, summer's vacation time, right? And of course, I assume we're gonna continue to do Zooms, although in-person meetings would also be nice every once in a while. But it'd be nice to at least try to put a tentative schedule together that can be changed, modified to make sure we're gonna get where we need to get to in August.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Jason.
I was just gonna say, I asked Jim for that, because I know everyone needs it, right? Everyone's gonna have vacation here. I'm sure that team has vacation too. So Jim, I guess I'll flip it on you. When will you have that for us?
We are hitting submit on Tuesday for the PDP, and then meeting with our internal project meeting Tuesday afternoon to start to walk through that work plan and how that's going to lay out through our PSR submission date. So in short order.
Okay. So before Memorial Day weekend, you can submit a draft schedule to me then that I can
Definitely. Yeah.
circulate to the committee to understand where we may have issues.
Yep, definitely.
And Jim, are you going to include on that what you think needs to be done? Specifically, where we're going, so we kind of know that we really do have enough time, hopefully, to pare down the 12 options to whatever is more realistic, and then from there pare down to the one that we want to vote on. In my mind, it just seems like it's a lot to be done in a 2.5 months.
Definitely. And that's what we're working through is the work plan, Arrow Street's work plan, which is when designs will be ready for presentation, discussion. So yes, and again, things might shift, but we'll do our best to make sure that we lay that out all the way through submission to the MSBA in August.
Okay. I don't need a reaction tonight, but they have tentatively asked us to hold June 3rd and June 17th for dates. So if you can just individually email me if that's going to present an issue. I know it's a very busy time of the year. So, and I will circulate an email to everyone just to make sure. And then Jim, we can get those on the calendar if they do work for people.
So Jason, not to go beyond what you just said, if we do the 2 meetings in June, do 2 in July, and then, I forget the date in August it's got to go in, but say 1 in August because it's going in, that's only 5 meetings. I just don't see how we get it all done in 5 meetings.
It's in the PSR phase. It's perfectly possible that we might be seeing each other every week through certain phases. So let us walk through that, and then obviously distribute it to the group.
Okay.
Okay. And it's the end of August, right? Just,
Correct.
all right,
Yes.
it's not like
Yep.
August 1st, so.
Yeah. And we can discuss further, but I think as we get down to, the real decision making, we would definitely support in-person meetings for some of those. So obviously we can leave that for a later discussion, but I think that would be very helpful for us all to be in a room when, some of these big decisions come up.
August 23rd, is that the date?
I believe it's
Yeah.
the 28th.
What
that
is,
right, Jim?
what Katie?
Yeah.
I have in my brain that it's the 28th. Is that right, Jim?
I think it's the 28th. Let me,
That would be better.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, so we will work through that. I share your concern, Kathy, in terms of scheduling, and the summer is never easy. Jim, doing in person is just going to be even that much more difficult, I think. But we do have great remote capabilities to have mixes too, right? We call hybrid, right, of in person and participation on Zoom. I think the key is maximum participation, and we'll figure out a way to make the format work.
Okay.
Right.
and Thursday, 8/29. So one more day to the good.
Okay. Is there any public comment? All right. Is there any other business that anyone wants to conduct? All right. I will make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote. Mark,
Aye.
Roger,
Aye.
Denise,
Aye.
Andrew,
I.
Kathy,
Aye.
and I am I as well. Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you.
Stay
Thanks,
safe.
everybody. Good night.
Night.